Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a live panel discussion Defense Industrial Corridors Blueprint for Optimizing Indigenous Military Ecosystem. The Government of India has established two defense industrial corridors in the country, one in Uttar Pradesh, namely Uttar Pradesh Defense Industrial Corridor, and the other in Tamil Nadu, namely Tamil Nadu Defense Industrial Corridor, with an aim to attract investment of about 10,000 crores in each corridor by year 2024 and 25. Six nodes, namely Aligarh, Agra, Chitrakoot, Jhansi, Kanpur, and Lucknow, have been identified for Uttar Pradesh Defense Industrial Corridor, and five nodes, namely Chennai, Coimbatore, Hosur, Salem, and Tiruchirappalli, have been identified for the Tamil Nadu Defense Industrial Corridor. The nodes have been selected based on high potential for creation of end-to-end ecosystem for aerospace and defense sector developing, covering design, engineering, and manufacturing. The respective state governments provide necessary lands, connectivity, and basic infrastructure for these corridors. According to available information, Uttar Pradesh has already signed 62 memorandum of understanding with the private and public industries worth the potential investment of approximately 800 600 8,600 crore. Out of 62 MOUs, 25 proposals with the potential investments of approximately 2,500 crore have been finalized and land has been allotted to the industries. In Tamil Nadu Defense Industrial Corridor, Tamil Nadu Industrial Development Corporation has made arrangements through MOUs for potential investment of 11,153 crore by 40 industries. The general view is that the country needs more defense industrial corridors in different states to bolster their economic growth with the necessary policy regime on DICs by the central government and setting up conducive policy incentives to support infrastructure by the state government. The government of India has received proposals from eight state governments, including Telangana, for setting up the defense industrial corridors in their states. No proposal has been received from the state of Andhra Pradesh. The panel discussion today highlights the roadmap of these defense industrial corridors and the readiness of the state governments. To join the discussion, to lead the discussion, I am joined by Sri Awanish Kumar Awasthi IAS, Additional Chief Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of Uttar Pradesh Express Industrial Development Authority, Government of Uttar Pradesh. Sir, welcome to the discussion. The,
Thank
my
you.
next guest, my next guest is Mr. Krishnamoorthy, Project Director, Tamil Nadu Defense Corridor, Tamil Nadu Industrial Development Corporation from Government of Tamil Nadu. Mr. Murthy, please welcome to
Thank you.
panel discussion.
Thank you.
And my third guest, Mr. Praveen, PA, Director, Aerospace and Defense, Government of Telangana. Sir, please welcome. And my last but not the least, Mr. Gautam Nanda, Associate Partner, Aerospace and Defense, KPMG in India. Gentlemen, please welcome to the panel discussion, which is part of our PHO Utsav, coinciding with the Azadi Ki Amrut Mahotsav, India at 75 years. Sir, my first question to Mr. Awasthi, sir. Sir, the UPDIC is an inspirational project for the state is concerned and the country too. What is the status of the project and what has been your market experience so far? We would like to know from you, sir. Over to you.
Well, you had given some data. The good news is that the data gets updated and we have made further progress. We now have 82 MOUs with 68 industries and 14 institutions with an investment of about 9,359 crores. Further, 10 MOUs are in the pipeline, 5 industry related MOUs and 5 institutional, which will further have an investment projection of 2,118 crores. These MOUs were to be signed in the DEF Expo at Ahmedabad. So we are still waiting to take this forward. So in all, we have reached a level where we are able to aim for an investment of more than 11,400 crores, which for the UP Defense Industrial Corridor, where we were absolutely zero when the Honorable Prime Minister had declared our corridor, we are very happy to say that, well, we have made long strides. Further, I would like to state that 26 companies with 2527 crores of investment proposed have already been allotted land. The land, of course, has been allotted at Aligarh, and this node has now been fully populated. And there are certain nodes in Jhansi, certain areas in Jhansi and Kanpur also, which have been populated. So these industries now are in the process of coming up. At the Aligarh node, the entire boundary wall, the approach road, the internal road, the waterworks, the electricity substation, all of it is coming in place, including in Jhansi and Kanpur. So the infrastructure for the defense nodes is also coming in place. So I'm very, very happy to say that, well, this is also coming up at a very fast pace. And since government is providing all the funds for these infrastructure, we have not had any deficit in terms of providing infrastructure at these nodes. I would also like to tell you that other than the Aligarh node, Jhansi, Lucknow, and Kanpur node have also shown success. At the Lucknow node, we have allotted land to BrahMos. So they have been allotted a large chunk of land at 1 rupee, and this was at the instance of the Honorable Defence Minister, and we hope to get the project for the BrahMos airspace started at Lucknow. Further, at Jhansi, the Honorable Prime Minister laid the foundation stone of the unit of Bharat Dynamics Limited, again a part of the 75th year on the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav at the Jhansi Fort. So that again is a major milestone for us, and we are very happy that the place where the defense corridors where the foundation stone was laid, which is Jhansi, there we were able to get the foundation stone for BDL laid by the Honorable Prime Minister. You all know that Def Expo 2020 at Uttar Pradesh, at Lucknow, was the most successful defense expo in the history of defense expo in India. And we had the largest foreign participation. We had the largest number of MOUs which were signed. And we, of course, had one of the best displays of the Indian Air Force, which, of course, was a major attraction. And the Honorable Prime Minister had been a part of the Defense Expo celebration here in Lucknow. You all know that the ease of doing business, UP has jumped from around 14th place to 12th, and then finally to the last declaration to the second place in the country in terms of ease of doing business. So under the Honorable Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath ji, in the last 5 years and now in the next 2.0, Yogi 2.0, we hope to take things forward, and we will try to achieve a position where ease of doing business we will top in the country, and this is openly what we strive for. You all know that DRDO is also a partner for us. You all know IIT Kanpur and IIT Varanasi are partners with us. We would like to also take up defense testing infrastructure with the help of the Ministry of Defense in our state. So all in all, our defense corridor has seen very strong, I would say, majboot strides on the ground, and we want to take things forward. Areas in this in ammunition production, areas in production of arms and ammunition, areas in the area in land systems where we could provide large infrastructure for building land systems. All of these areas we are looking for it. And now with the new airport coming up at Jewar, international airport coming at Jewar, we would obviously have the advantage of having a large number of associated industries, MROs and others in the airspace area, which can come around Jewar, which is the western part of the state. So we are very happy to say that, well, we have moved forward, but of course, we have still a long way to go, and we would be partners in progress for the country. And with the Honorable Prime Minister from our state, the Defense Minister from our state, with the very aggressive mechanism in which our Chief Minister takes our state forward, we hope to see UP coming up. Thank you.
Thank you, Awasthi. Over to Mr. B. Krishnamurthy. Sir, your, of course, Tamil Nadu Defense Industrial Corridor is also equivalent important project for the nation and state government. Could you just highlight what is the status of the project and your market experience so far?
Okay. Yeah, good evening to all. You may be aware the Tamil Nadu Defense Corridor was announced in 20th January 2019 by the then Defense Minister, Honorable Nirmala Sitharaman Madam. It's a flagship program intended to develop the aerospace and defense in the state. So, you are aware the A&D market, which is high potential and promising upcoming sectors towards realizing the mission of the government for the indigenization and the self-reliance path. Government of Tamil Nadu also equally understood the importance and recognized aerospace and defense as a sundry sector. And by classifying it, the A&D industry into sundry sector, it offers multiple advantages. Number of incentives and subsidies being extended to A&D units, be it capital reimbursement of capital subsidy or tax incentives or land or so many packages. It attracts the aerospace and defense industry. Aerospace and defense policy 2019 we kept as a vision of emerging hub in A&D. That is our larger vision. And especially, Tamil Nadu is highly advanced industrial state. And by harnessing the potential in the automotive sector, that we want to churn into the A&D. That is our core strategy. A&D policy also aims to achieve the investment target of 5 billion by 5 years, that is by 2024, and by doubling it by another 5 years. And number of strategies has been chalked out by bolstering the interaction with the industries and then engaging actively with the foreign OEMs and aggressive marketing strategy, though we don't have godfathers. And by virtue of the advanced industrial, the existing ecosystem, we want to take Tamil Nadu into emerging hub. Towards this initiative, we have come out with a number of enablers. We have come out with 3 center of excellences with Dassault System, Siemens, and GE to promote re-engineering facilities, R&D, skilling, and all of the requirements of emerging MSMEs. And we have identified a gap analysis across all the 5 nodes, and we have come out with the blueprint for developing the nodes by creating a common testing facility, which is one of the entry barrier for entry into aerospace and defense. Similarly, we are also strengthening the common facility centers across all the nodes. And these are all few initiatives we have taken to realize our objective. It is going on well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Praveen. Mr. Murthy. I'll go to Mr. Praveen. Sir, with the presence of defense R&D labs like DRDO, DRDL, RCI, Bharat Dynamics Limited, MDN, Ordnance Factory, DMRL, I mean, many defense units are based in Telangana. Telangana state has already established a defense ecosystem very effectively. However, the state, though one of the aspirant states for the defense industrial corridors, is yet to get the official status by the government of India. I just want to ask you, sir, is it a concern for Telangana?
Thank you very much. In fact, Telangana has always been a defense hub. It was known as the missile hub of India. And 40, 50 years, almost all the DRDO labs and the DPSUs have been manufacturing the major requirements of the defense force from Hyderabad. And while it's an interesting question to ask whether we are missing out on something, but at least a formal recognition of the fact that this is a predominant mature hub of defense manufacturing is expected. I mean, it's and certainly agreeable that new corridors, the greenfield corridors which are coming in, need to be encouraged. And we have a lot more to kind of achieve in defense indigenization. But I feel Bangalore and Hyderabad has been 2 centers which had a lot going in aerospace and defense. I think these 2 corridors need a formal recognition as a defense corridor. Probably the incentives can be much more in the other greenfield corridors, but at least because in today's environment, we are not competing state against state. Almost most of the programs which are currently winning are competing against the other countries, like say Mexico, or for that matter, the Southeast Asian countries. Even for that matter, the MRO investment which was mentioned, they are not comparing what each state is offering. They're comparing with what they're getting from multiple other countries. So when it comes to defense, there's a wide spectrum of activities. Certain activities require highly skilled manpower. Certain activities require expats to come down and stay in a world class city, and then kind of take up their activities. While there are certain programs like huge explosive manufacturing plant, which is again a major requirement, where the urban cities can't find land to kind of give it. So that need to move into the new area. So we need to have a mix and match of the multiple hubs which is across the country, and look at it as to which investment will and allow it in an organic way, rather than a kind of a forced suggestion. So I believe we have been, despite the fact that we have not been a defense corridor, thanks to the historical efforts which is taken from the DRDOs and DPOs. Today we have more than 1,000 MSMEs who are trained in military grade manufacturing, and the ecosystem is so rich that most of the OEMs who want to kind of come and set up will find it easy go to kind of establish in Telangana. And that is something which probably will be an advantage for some time to be, because till the time that other ecosystems mature.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Praveen. I'll go to Mr. Gautam Nanda. Mr. Nanda, you are assisting Department of Defense Production on corporatization of the Ordnance Factory Board, subject matter expert for Uttar Pradesh and Tamil Nadu defense corridors. How do you see the participation of the state governments in the defense industrial ecosystem and their significant role in overall vision of the government? Over to you.
Good evening, everybody. I think it's a very interesting aspect which you asked me to highlight, Mr. Radhakrishna. What Mr. Awasthi and Mr. Krishnamoorthy highlighted earlier, there is extensive involvement by state government in boosting the aerospace and defense manufacturing ecosystem in their respective states. Just to add on to a few of the points which Mr. Awasthi highlighted, I'll start with UP and then move on to Tamil Nadu Defense Corridor. Attraction of BrahMos and BDL as two anchor units have been the key achievements of the UP Defense Corridor in attracting the ecosystem which will be created with the tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers which will come around these two main entities which are going to be established there. There is another very interesting aspect which UP Defense Corridor has done, is that they have done a tie-up with Indian Navy. We were having the discussion earlier. Despite being landlocked, UP Defense Corridor has a very interesting tie-up in addition to the various IITs with Indian Navy for developing the ecosystem. Almost 11,500 crores of investment has been attracted by UP Corridor, which is commendable in the short period since the established. And presence of Mr. Awasthi, CEO UPEDA, as the person leading the UP Defense Corridor does indicate the alignment of the corridor along with the various expressways, which is a very important facet when it comes to developing the ecosystem of getting the infrastructure to play a major role in setting that up. Now moving to Tamil Nadu Defense Corridor, they have had their own achievements. One very interesting thing which Mr. Krishnamoorthy highlighted is the setting up of Center of Excellence. This is a key requirement when you talk globally, when you meet with people in the defense manufacturing ecosystem. There is an urgent requirement for this kind of establishment to be put into place so as to bring about awareness and the skilling of people in that area. So Center of Excellence is a very big initiative which has been taken by Tamil Nadu Defense Corridor along with the CFC and CTC. TIDCO, which Mr. Krishnamurthy is part of, along with SIPCOT, TIIC, and other state government agencies have been actively involved in development of the Tamil Nadu Defense Corridor. We are aware of some discussions which the Tamil Nadu Defense Corridor is having with global OEMs for bringing in investments, the road shows which they have been doing, the investment promotion they have been doing, and believe you me, they have been very aggressive for bringing in that investments into Tamil Nadu corridor. And I think what the target Mr. Krishnamurthy highlighted, for them to achieve, it would be quite plausible. Another great aspect which I would like to highlight in Tamil Nadu would be the infrastructure. that is one linkage which they have established very well in terms of bringing all the three, that is air, sea, and land aspects into the 6 nodes which they have developed in the Tamil Nadu Defense Corridor. And like I said, UP bringing in the expressways. Tamil Nadu Defense Corridor has got all the three aspects aligned with their corridor to bring in the investments. So overall, lot of initiative being taken by both the state governments to boost the defense corridor. And like you have rightly said, Atma Nirbhar Bharat is the vision which is being envisaged by the defense production, and we see that going forward in both the corridors which have been established presently.
Thank you, Mr. Nanda. Over to Mr. Awasthi. Awasthi, you are a very senior administrator now. Currently, since the capacity you are, I mean, defense and aerospace. We all know that not generally a part of the state government's administrative process. Now, until recently, aerospace and defense become a part of it. Do you see that the state governments also need to have a defense department, like a Department of Commerce and Industries, Department of Defense for state government may be required to deal effectively with the defense and aerospace subject one. Two is aligning with the, of course, the vision of the government of India, which UPDIC has been formed, and a policy, a dedicated policy for aerospace and defense also required. So how do you see the building of ecosystem using the effective administrative system in the place? Two, policies in place. Three, structure is been built. Then, yes, driving that is. What you, sir? How do you see this scenario like this?
Well, having a defense department in the state, well, I would in principle agree that, well, the moment things grow, we would need to put everything in place. But the way our chief minister had formulated it, we were doing a large number of these expressways all along the state. And we are doing 82,000 crores of infrastructure through the expressways. So his vision is that along the expressways, we bring the industrial areas, including the defense corridor. So this defense corridor task, which was given to our institution called UPITA, was given because we were very strong in infrastructure. And basically, building infrastructure for defense corridor for us was a much easier proposition than to start something anew and then looking for funds for that. So the defense corridor, we spent 1,000 crores on that. And for us, if we are doing big business in infrastructure, getting more money for infrastructure for the defense corridor becomes an easy task. So it was basically a win-win situation for UPITA as well as for the defense corridor when it was envisaged. But obviously, we need a lot of experts for building up our defense corridor. And I would like to say this on this public platform that we are looking for good people from Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu who would come to our place and who belong to our state to become part of our corridor, because we will welcome them with open arms so that they become partners with us, and people who would probably belong to our state working in the other states would be a major boost to us. And this is what we keep saying. We have the largest technical manpower in the country, and it is in our state that we are providing the infrastructure, so they could be partners for us. So I would agree that we should have a defense department, and we should have people who are experts in these areas within our sector, and we do have the wherewithal to put it in place. We would look for an appropriate time to take that forward. Secondly, we already have a defense and aerospace policy of our state, but you all know and we all know that, well, defense is driven by the government of India, and the way the government of India would like to take it forward, because most of the defense equipment as on date has to be taken up at the government of India level, because they and their organizations are the ones which are procuring almost all of the material in the country. So given that scenario, we would look forward to the government of India coming forth for providing the two defense corridors a special status. So that we are still waiting for. And that is something on which we will need to work hard together with Tamil Nadu so that we get some direct benefits on the ground. The third area which I'd like to tell you is that defense corridor is somewhat associated with arms and ammunition and things which are to be provided to our defense, to our police forces. I am the Home Secretary of the state. So I need good weapons for my police personnel. I need good bulletproof armor for my personnel. I need good drone equipment for my own police personnel for monitoring and surveillance. And I need good electronic equipment for surveillance otherwise also. So there is some synergy with the defense sector and the police and their equipment and modernization. So that is another area where we are looking for, where cyber security is also there. So all of these are emerging areas which require support from the government. So together with all of this, we would say that not just defense, but the area of the forces, special forces, we are bringing up a special force just like CISF also, which would require a lot of equipment and I would say specialized equipment. So that is another area which we are thinking can take things forward. But obviously, a large part of it depends on the Government of India's policies. We are very happy to say that, well, the Honorable Prime Minister declared UP as one of the defense corridors. We would like to further get support from the Defense Department, Defense Production Department of the Government of India, and we would be very happy to partner with them for all the subsidiaries and the defense units. In fact, very recently, about a year ago, the Honorable Defense Minister had held a meeting with all the stakeholders in UP at Lucknow, where all stakeholders from Government of India, state government, all the DPSUs, all the private sectors, the SIDM, all of them were there. So I think a lot of work needs to be done. The ultimate aim for our government is to get the good infrastructure so that good units come and we provide employment to our state and ultimately for the development of the state.
Thank you, Awasthi ji. Another thing is skilled manpower tough. Is it skilled manpower is a concern in UP?
Skilled manpower is not a concern in UP because we have the largest number of ITIs, we have the largest number of technical institutes, we have the largest number of engineering institutions, we have the cutting edge engineering institutions also. And being close to Delhi, we provide a lot of manpower to in and around the Noida, Greater Noida areas. So there is no dearth of skilled manpower. The problem with us is that most of us skilled manpower moves to Maharashtra, moves to Gujarat, moves to Hyderabad, moves to Bangalore, moves to Tamil Nadu. So, well, they are looking for better pastures because there are units and there are institutions which can provide good employment to them. So we don't have a dearth of skilled manpower. We have now hubs in Western UP where large number of big infrastructure is coming up, data centers, mobile phones, all of these. We are one of the largest now in the country. But well, for the defense sector, we are still we still need to work very hard.
Thank you, sir. Over to Mr. Murthy. Of course, as I mentioned, department is of course definitely in need of our as we grow further, and policy alignment is very, very important. How do you see? I mean, only TIDCO is going to drive the aerospace and defense. Do you have any better ecosystem, better structure, administrative structure? You're going to see that in the future?
In fact, I would like to state Tamil Nadu's industrial strength as such is Tamil Nadu's strength as such will be the USP for our strategy for aerospace and defense actually. So as I stated, we have developed the industrial economy since 1950s. These traditional industries like textiles or leather or high-tech and highly growth sector like EV, electricals, IT, ITAS. So any factory, we have a very well industrial ecosystem. And Tamil Nadu houses highest number of industries and highest number of workforces. And take it as a physical infrastructure or social infrastructure, in fact, to complement the Nanda sir actually. So 1,000 acres of the coast fed with 4 major ports and coupled with non-major ports and robust road infrastructure and 6 international airports. And these are all sound infrastructure we have. And taking as a social infrastructure also, Tamil Nadu is one of the highest literate states. And in fact, more than 5,000 aerospace engineers are coming out. So take it as a school education also, retention rate or gross enrollment rate. It's fairly, very good advantages we have actually. And be it any other infrastructure like electricity, its power surplus. Coming to the structure also, Tamil Nadu, it's one of the main USP is to facilitative role played by the state for industrial promotion. We have a development institutions which is known for these activities. TICO, it is a nodal agency for a defense corridor identified by government. And we have come out with more than 150 successful joint ventures. And there is another corporation called SIPCOT. The main role is to create a land bank. So far, they have created 32,000 acres of land for industrial promotion. And the target is to add up to 45,000 acres of land by another 5 years. There is a TIC. And this main role is to loan facilitation for MSMEs and other industries. So it's we have traveled along with the success story of development institutions, and also there is a unique concept of manufacturing clusters for aerospace and defense. We have identified 9 thematic parks, and that we will carve out from existing SIPCOT itself, depending upon various themes. So these are all the various interventions we have planned. We have planned, chalked out based on our own strategy and advantages. In fact, coming to the data of investment so far, there is a committed investment of about 13,300 crores, as the figure you were mentioning initially, about 11,000 crores. There is always update and progress, and 150 is already realized. So. But being a central subject, definitely we look for Government of India, as Mr. Awasthi sir mentioned, be it any kind of intervention in terms of financial packages or any kind of specific development. We will be looking for Government of India. Last month, recently, our Honorable Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu also handed over a memorandum to Honorable Prime Minister of India and the Defense Minister. And handed over the memorandum, which consists of various planned strategies we look for from Government of India. We hope we will be able to get support and then progress further and take aerospace into a further level.
Okay. Looks like both the states, UP and Tamil Nadu, both have overachieved their targets in 2022 itself. Otherwise, it's supposed to be achieved before 23 and 24 financial year. Anyhow, it's a good development. Over to Mr. Praveen. Of course, we know that advantages of the Telangana state. Just want to know which are your ongoing initiatives and policy reforms as part of the Department of Commerce and Industries for the promotion of the defense and aerospace, if you can highlight.
So, as I mentioned earlier, Hyderabad has been a historic hub for defense, and the last 7 years after this new government came in, the aerospace and defense as a segment has been given a thrust sector status. And probably this is the only state where they have a director specifically looking at this sector, right from for the last 6 years. And what we have is a policy which is lauded as one of the best industrial policies in the country, wherein all industrial approvals are committed, are guaranteed in 15 days to 30 days. 15 days for mega projects and 30 days for the other projects. Every approval is online, and so the applicant needn't visit any office. All the industrial land availability is listed online, including the price. So the process is very transparent. We have multiple aerospace parks created in and around the Hyderabad city, and Hyderabad city is apparently one of the biggest attraction for most of the major OEMs when they look at it, because they all look for a cosmopolitan city where their employees can stay once they are done with their work. So we have around, to name it, we have one of the country's first aerospace SEZ, the Adipatla Aerospace SEZ, very close to the international airport, where Lockheed Martin, Boeing, GE, etc. have their Make in India facilities, the factories. The only region where these larger OEMs have got their own manufacturing units. Then there is a DTA aerospace park at Nadargul, another aerospace SEZ park at GMR Aerospace, which is adjacent to the GMR airport, where companies like Safran has taken in multiple, or rather having multiple of their units. There are two hardware parks, Hardware Park 1 and 2. There is an electronic park, which is more than 900 acres, the largest in the country, where avionics, space, and defense electronics companies are set up. And this is probably the only state which has got a dedicated composite park, because we understand that materials are something which is very important when it comes to high precision industry. And thankfully, Midani is also located here, and a large cluster of around 160 composite manufacturers have come together to kind of support the industry. A new aerospace park is proposed at Illuminadu, and a defense and space parks are also in this. So this is one of on the infrastructure side. Second, what we have, so I mentioned policy, the infrastructure. Third part, what is look at is skilling. For the last 3-4 years, we have got several of the international skilling agencies. The government has directly tied up with them, including Cranfield University, UK, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, US, and Aerocampus Aquitaine in France. Because what we also understand is, while they can be skilling institutions of repute, the OEMs have got their specific attachment to certain institutions. So we are picking and choosing those institutions which is training the major OEMs in their home state and providing their, and tying up with them so that they are able to offer these courses in Hyderabad. And 3 of them are already doing that. The state is now planning, in fact, just 2 days back, the cabinet has given approval for setting up an aerospace and aviation university. And we are already in touch with major OEMs on that. The last aspect is innovation. In fact, we kind of lay a lot of stress on innovation. We have the largest incubator called T-Hub, the largest hardware incubator called T-Works, another institution called RICH, which is kind of bringing in commercializable ideas out from all the research institutions and tying up with the industry. So all these institutions work together in tandem and create an ecosystem where the OEMs as well as the local defense companies find it easier to innovate, easier to participate in programs like IDEX. Boeing and Collins and Raytheon, etc., has done their own acceleration program with this. And this is kind of creating an environment where there's a lot of action happening around aerospace and defense in our ecosystem. And as I mentioned earlier, we got a cluster of large DPSUs, each of them employing around 4,000 to 5,000 of their staff. Larger companies like, Tata has got the 90% manufacturing in India, in aerospace and defense in Hyderabad. Similarly, Kalyani's as well as Adani's have also set up their manufacturing facilities here. The 1,000-odd MSMEs what we have also over a period has created a strong pool of workforce which are trained in military-grade manufacturing. So, while there is a merit in having large number of engineering and ITIs as well, even with the state, what we are looking for is for any institution or any aerospace company or defense company to come and set it up. We have a ready pool of manpower who are kind of qualified, certified, and probably can kind of give the same quality as their other worldwide manufacturing centers. So this is primarily what we. In fact, we have got a very strong, approachable government. Any company, for that matter, can reach out to the minister, the principal secretary, for any reason, and the response is quite quick. So the accessibility to the government is something which also, stands apart when it comes to Telangana. An honorable minister has also repeatedly kind of requested Government of India for giving the status of defense industrial corridor to Hyderabad, and I hope that in time that request will be honored.
Mr. Praveen, supplement question: do you see a scenario in future that Telangana government complement Uttar Pradesh and Tamil Nadu in aerospace and defense expertise, probably complementing your technical know-how or other expertise with the friendly states, so that the ecosystem of the entire showcasing India as a one, that we are all together? Yes, is that scenario you can see anticipate in future?
So in fact, it's a very logical approach to look at for government to kind of really, we have a very ambitious target for manufacturing, for indigenization of a lot of defense manufacturing activities, and we have a very formidable export target as well. This can't be achieved, if the mature hubs are not involved. So ideally, the government should look at having a national corridor strategy, wherein more incentives are given to the new hubs, while the existing hubs are also interlinked with the new hubs, that we form a very strong national corridor wherein the industries and institutions in, say, a region like Hyderabad or Bangalore can support. And in no time, I think the other defense corridors also will catch up in space. But I think that kind of a cooperation is a must for the country to prosper. And we can't allow too much of competition between states. Rather, we should kind of look at how, as a country, we can compete against the other global manufacturing destinations. So, for example, last year, Hyderabad was ranked number one in cost effectiveness in Financial Times global ranking of the global cities of future. Bangalore also was ranked number one in another criteria. So we need to kind of really pull out all this and highlight India as a manufacturing hub, rather than trying to, because when a foreign OEM or any other investor comes in, they expect the same kind of experience. If somebody really wants low cost, they can go to other regions. If they want very high cost, very highly technically specialized activity to be located, they will look for a similar hub like an Aerospace Valley, what you see in Toulouse or or in Atlanta. So we need to kind of provide that sort of multiple choice options to any investor coming in, and that is what will kind of take the country forward.
Thank you, Mr. Praveen. Mr. Nanda, I just want to ask you. Of course, as many as 8 states only have shown interest for the setting up defense industrial corridors. Well defined the role of central government, well defined the role of the state governments, respectively. Do you see more DICs are expected in the near future? One. Two is, I have a very hypothetical question. Now I have two choices, two state governments which have a defense corridors. Why would I invest in non-status designated states? If I invest money in non-designated state, by what will I get? Do I get equal benefits what the designated states are giving to me? What will be the message that we are giving to the prospective investor? He has a two choices, but if he chooses third one, it is not a designated status. How do you see the scenario? Both to you.
I'll address this question in two parts. First would be the aspect which you mentioned about the two corridors, 8 states showing their interest, and do we envisage more corridors coming up? This is dependent on two things which are happening presently in the defense manufacturing ecosystem. The first is the impetus which has been given by the government of India towards self-reliance. Now, that is the first aspect which is boosting up the requirement for manufacturing within India. And the second thing is the geopolitical scenario which is evolving across the globe, because of which global OEMs are looking at India to be part of the global supply chain. Now, these are the two main pillars which are driving investments in this sector. The third aspect, which normally goes unnoticed, would be the COVID situation which happened in the recent past. The only sector which was fully functional and working during this whole period and driving business was the defense manufacturing system, not only in India, but globally. So that has shown that this is one sector which needs to be concentrated upon. And recently there was a special group of secretaries committee which was set up, which highlighted that by 2047, 25% of our GDP would be from defense manufacturing. So there is a lot which is happening in the defense manufacturing ecosystem moving forward. Hence, 8 states, yes, to start with, we would have that kind of a thing. But I do concur with Praveen's vision of Make in India, where we interlink and present India as a manufacturing hub with special facilities created across states. Now, that is where I come to the second aspect of the question which you asked, was that with two defense industrial corridors, what do the other states bring onto the table which would attract investment, or is it the right way to go? Yes, it is the right way to go. To start with, we have looked at the two defense industrial corridors, that is Uttar Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. These will bolster the defense manufacturing ecosystem from the ab initio stage. There are some very well developed hubs like Telangana, where TASL has set up a massive facility. You are part of the global supply chain from with Tata Advanced Systems Limited for Apache, for Chinooks, for F-35. Everything globally is being supplied from the facility here. So they bring their own aspect to it. So two defense industrial corridors which are being taken care by the central government, it being a center subject, boosting the defense manufacturing ecosystem, while the states come up with their own initiatives to match up and provide for these two industrial corridors to be coming up. Now, for us to immediately create defense industrial corridors across India, I don't think that would be wise. but in a gradual process, I think these 8 states should come onto the defense industrial corridor. We should connect ourselves globally, internally across India, and all the other facilities which have been created over a period of time in India. Now, one thing which you had mentioned initially was the corporatization of OFB. Now, OFBs have been converted into 7 DPSUs. They have a existing skill set which is present but not part of neither of the corridors which have been established, but there is a big skill set which already exists. Now, if this pulls into the defense industrial corridor, the DPSUs which are already in existence, like Bharat Electronics, Bharat Dynamics, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, all these, if they pool into the defense industrial corridor, it will create a larger ecosystem which can then support defense manufacturing. And this aim of having 25% of the GDP coming from defense manufacturing, totally achievable if we create an ecosystem starting with defense, these 2 defense corridors, going on to the next 8 who have shown interest towards it, and interconnecting them with the hubs which are present in India as well.
Thank you, Mr. Nanda. Over to Mr. Awasthi. Sir, you are being a senior bureaucrat. I would like to know more DSCs are expected, sir?
Yes, definitely. But the point which again I would like to make is that ultimately the government of India has to be very proactive in this area. And we hope now to take it up with the government of India, the DPSUs of the government of India. And of course, we want to take up the projects which have also already been approved, so that once the manufacturing gets started in 1 or 2 of our anchor units, that will attract the other units to come in place. So we do see a lot of progress happening, but of course, we need to be very aggressive.
So as we speak today, going forward, what are the priorities for the Uttar Pradesh in this corridor, sir?
Well, the priority for us will be, as I just now said, to get our units which have already been approved to come on the ground. As you know, that the Honorable Chief Minister has invited the Prime Minister for a groundbreaking ceremony for all of these units, not just defense, but all of industry. So every unit should get started, get all its clearances, and we should provide them all the infrastructure so that we can see them grow, and ultimately they should start production. So we hope that within 2 years, we get some of the units in place. And then, of course, with that, get the testing infrastructure also with the Ministry of Defense as a partner, so that there is some basic infrastructure on which we can grow. Once we have the takeoff stage, then things will become much better. But land bank, as our friend from Tamil Nadu had said, we have one of the largest land banks also in our state, and the land is cheap. So areas where ammunition has to be manufactured, areas where large land systems have to be tested, areas where you need a big firing range to test big weapons. So all of this will also get provided in our state. As it is, the Jhansi node is very close to the Babina military area, where they are doing a large number of testing of field guns. So all of this will come together. We hope that our Jewar Airport, which is the international airport coming up near Noida, will also provide us help in the aerospace area, because it's going to be very big. And once the airport comes up, obviously with the aggressive nature of the private sector, which will come in with the airport, they would like to attract people from the world over.
Thank you. Mr. Murthy, your final words on the priorities and the status of your corridors.
Aerospace and defense is going to be one of the major pillar for 1 trillion economy vision envisioned by our Honorable Chief Minister of India, as well as Government of India has kept through various initiatives like 1,80,000 crores to be indigenously manufactured in India. So Tamil Nadu is going to have a greater share in that. We have multiple strategy to bringing anchor investor and to be part of Government of India for indigenization. One of the unit in Coimbatore, Odisha, they have already got more than 134 items from DPSUs worth of 125 crores. So we are also revising our policy to cater to the requirement of make projects as well as the by a BGF kind of sort of instrument to bring startup, especially the IDEX. So definitely we will be able to play a major role in Atma Nirbhar initiative of Government of India, and also further progress of taking corridor further.
Thank you, Krishnamoorthy. Over to Mr. Praveen, your final words on the discussion.
No, Telangana is actually proud to host a large number of defense establishments, which is catering to the defense indigenization goals. And we're also sure that the negative list which has come in, the industries based in Telangana would be, or rather, in our ecosystem, would be probably more equipped to kind of tap onto it, and government will provide all sort of support to that. Most of the manufacturing which is happening in defense side in Hyderabad is mostly export oriented. So Hyderabad will also be a major hub towards achieving the national goal of more defense exports. And as like Awasthi had mentioned, so we would be glad to kind of really explore opportunities to kind of really support the other hubs as well, and be part of the larger imperative for the nation being independent, or rather Atma Nirbhar in defense, and work towards that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Praveen. Mr. Nanda, I just want to know from you is the defense industry is undergoing an enormous transformation from hardware to software. Cyber, information, space, water, underwater, considered to be the future warfare. Considering that the more technology driven weaponry systems are defense is driving, manufacturing to more innovation and R&D is what the need of the hour. The defense ministry strongly believes that. Your take on that?
And again, the first part was what the hardware and software part. I think they go hand in hand when you talk about the defense manufacturing ecosystem. Hardware is very much important. There has been a lot of discussions, a lot of think tanks, a lot of word being spoken, taking into consideration the present scenario, which is a geopolitical scenario, Russia, Ukraine, which is evolving, that in future there is going to be non-kinetic war. That means there will be more dependence on software rather than people actually going and bombarding or putting in their tanks or sending in firing missiles. I don't see that scenario evolving. But however, whatever hardware is being used would become smarter. Now, when we talk about smarter, is there where the software play comes into play. So the hardware and software part, based on my experience as an ex-naval officer and being part of the defense ecosystem for more than a decade now, I can surely vouch for that. They will go together hand in hand. We will still land up where there will be emphasis on hardware which is being produced and the software which is uh, evolving along with the thing. Now, moving forward, how do I see it happening in India? It is going to go in a different trajectory as we move forward, especially from the point of view where Atma Nirbhar Bharat is going to be one of the key uh, cornerstones for our defense manufacturing ecosystem. Now, that being the main uh, stay when we are looking at the defense manufacturing, there is a lot which will we will see moving forward in hardware as well as software. Our expertise in underwaters has been exploited for a very long time, a very interesting aspect which you brought out, and I'm an underwater specialist myself, so something very close to my heart. um, the first sonar which we developed was done by NPOL and was produced by Bell by the name of APSO. um, this is a sonar which is being used in India and now being exported globally also. This is one thing which is very advanced in technology, and we've been using it for more than 2 decades now. And Indian waters, when you look at underwater warfare, are very different globally because of the high salinity and the gradients which we have in India, Indian Ocean. Now, putting these two together, you need very high-end technology, and this complete sonar was indigenously developed. Moving forward, underwater is going to be a very important factor which will play in the in the battlefield scenario, which is evolving. And one of the things which is related to the underwater warfare is submarines and the torpedoes which are coming in. We have attained self-reliance in torpedoes. BDL is presently producing heavyweight torpedoes by the name of Varnastra, and also the lightweight torpedoes by the name of Tal. And in addition, now we have developed our capability to build submarines with the Scorpion program coming up, and Mazagon Dogs doing the same along with DCNS. So overall, when you're talking about India in hardware is evolving, L&T getting the K9 Vajra contract, OFB coming out with Dhanush guns, Tata Advanced Systems getting the C295 aircraft, HAL coming up with NUH and LCA. So all three ambits, and MDL, GRSC, GSL, CSL, HSL, all of them are producing warships. So you have the complete triad completed when it comes to hardware. Software, we have been a global power, and I think we are exploiting that and now started integrating that into the hardware. I hope I have answered the.
Absolutely. I think you have said more than what I expected, giving complete dynamics of the underwater scenario and pronouncing all the names of the projects as well, what India is very proud of. Thank you, Mr. Nanda. And I sincerely see that every state has advantage, be it Uttar Pradesh or Tamil Nadu or Telangana. I think, as Mr. Praveen pointed out, under National Industrial Corridor, I think the structure, the state corridors. I'm sure the Mr. Avati also believes that more corridors will come very soon. I think that is advantage that we could see that complementing each other under national-wide India and one India, and supporting the India's vision is what the need of the hour. With this, I conclude the today's panel discussion. The Defense Industrial Corridors, a blueprint for optimizing indigenous military system, and we'll continue to discuss such panel discussions in the near future
Mr.
as well.
Radhakrishna,
Yes.
Congratulations for ET2 for having brought us all together, and congratulations to you too for bringing forth all the ideas. I would like a text report also, so that I can take things forward and brought us all together.
Absolutely, sir. I think I'm still not completed. Please permit me for a minute. Sincerely, thank you, Awanish Kumar Awasthi ji, Additional Chief Secretary and Officer, Uttar Pradesh Express Industrial Development Authority from Government of Uttar Pradesh, Mr. B. Krishnamoorthy, Project Director, Tamil Nadu Defense Corridor, Tamil Nadu Industrial Development Corporation, Government of Tamil Nadu, and Mr. Praveen PA, Director, Aerospace and Defense, Government of Telangana, and Mr. Gautam Nanda, Associate Partner, Aerospace and Defense, KPMG in India. On behalf of ETGovernment, I sincerely thank you for joining and sharing your deep insights. Thank you, sir. But my only concern, sir, to bring India together, we're all together, strong, help each other, complement each other, whether it is in elections or a defense. We need to be together.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to economic thanks from TIDCO side also. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.